Welcome to the Kevin Cook Show. And now, here's Kevin.
Well, hello all. Welcome to another episode of the Kevin Cook Show. Otherwise, you can just call me K-Dog. Well, what to talk about today? First of all, if you hear any noise in the background, I'm at the radio station right now recording this. We got a Notre Dame football going on. So if you hear that in the background, sorry, I'm kind of monitoring that at the same time while doing this. But there's a lot going on I thought I should just talk about. As soon as I arrived here at work today, I pick up a copy of Entertainment Weekly that we keep here, and I notice right on the cover, The Future of Star Wars. And I've been meaning to talk about this since Disney purchased Lucasfilm. And that means they have also purchased the Star Wars franchise. Well, as I'm reading on here, I'm going to turn to the page here, to the whole article. Well, what does this mean? I think there's some good potential out of this. Disney, to me, it's kind of a perfect match. If since Disney has taken over the Star Wars universe. I really do, because look what they've done so far. A good example would be to look at Pixar, for example. Would be a good example. Pixar actually used to be a part of Lucasfilm. A lot of people don't know that. Pixar was developed back in the early 1980s. Developed by George Lucas, and they developed what was called the Pixar computer. At the time, it was supposed to be a division used for ILM. It's supposed to be used for visual effects, computer animation, and things like that. And that's all George Lucas really wanted it for. He wanted it for the digital technology that was currently booming at the time. And there was a couple of things why Pixar ended up getting sold. One, the people who were working for Pixar at the time, they wanted to break away and do cartoons. That's what they were wanting to do. The actual animators, they were wanting to They wanted to do a completely computer animated feature, and George Lucas was not in favor of that. He was not in favor of that at all. And also, George Lucas had made a string of box office failing projects. One of them being Howard the Duck. And that caused a lot of financial strain. And so he had to sell off some property. And Pixar was the cut. Fortunately, it was sold to Steve Jobs. And he took it and said, do what you want with it. And they took it to Walt Disney and ended up making Toy Story. So, that story's told. And now Disney owns Pixar. Over the years, I think 2004 was the final purchase of Pixar Animation Studios, and now it's part of the Walt Disney family. And yet that studio has yet to produce a failing film. Now, I will tell you this: there are favorites among the Pixar movies. They're hit or miss. I mean, like if I was to mention Cars to you, that's not a real favorite one. A personal favorite of mine would be WALL-E, and that's not the real popular one. A real popular one that I really don't care for is A Bug's Life. I hated that movie with a passion. I went in that one with a bad mood or something. Another thing that you can take into consideration what Disney has done with acquired properties is Marvel. What Marvel has done with the Disney has done with Marvel, and it's just crazy. I mean, the Avengers quickly became the highest-grossing comic book film of all time. It even beat out The Dark Knight. That, if that doesn't tell you something, I don't know what. But this would be, and think about this. This would be a chance to improve on it. But what I was going to talk about Marvel is look at what the Avengers have done, and they're still doing business. And they're making more movies based on those characters. And I really liked the Avengers. I thought that what Joss Whedon did with it wasn't just one specific character's movie. It was Iron Man's movie. It was the Hulk's movie. It was Captain America's movie. It actually felt like a halfway sequel to those franchises. It really did. And it was an ensemble piece. But in terms of Star Wars going towards Disney, this would be a chance to improve it. It really would, because a lot of people did not care for the prequels. Matter of fact, there's a feature in this article that talks about. Let me go here, and I'm actually going to read it to you. It says 5 tips for sequels that won't suck. It says, first of all, bring back Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill, and Carrie Fisher as Han, Luke, and Leia, but only as supporting characters. Number 2, look to the novels for new plots. That one I would actually look forward to. It would be Han and Leia's kids, the way some of the books depict. Number 3, ban all Ewoks and Gungans. Ban all the Ewoks and the Gungans, meaning Jar Jar Binks. Everybody hated Jar Jar Binks, and not too many people were fond of the Ewoks as well, because it was, I think at the time, they knew that they were selling toys, so I think the Ewoks were just created to make some money in the teddy bear area. So, and the 4th reason here, go easy on the phony baloney blue screen, please. Yeah, I think that would be. Yeah, I think the problem with the prequels is, and this is what George Lucas was known for. There was positive and negative over the technology. He was always about, let's push the technology and see what it can do, push it to the limit. But I think he overused it, and it came to a point where things that they could shoot, but they ended up replacing it, or they did shoot it and ended up being replaced by computer-generated material. Like, there was a point in Attack of the Clones where Ewan McGregor, where he's hugging one of his old friends in the cafe, they ended up just keeping his head. His hands were CG. His whole body was CG. I thought, that's kind of stupid. Why couldn't they just fit the character into what he was doing? I don't understand it. And the 5th reason, pay another visit to the underworld. And I'm trying to figure out what, they're obviously resourcing Shadows of the Empire. Disney, I can see Disney doing a lot with the Star Wars franchise. I really can. Because, I just look what their past track record has done with Pixar and Marvel. And of course, we can't forget that they had the Star Tours ride at Walt Disney World. So, there you go. I mean, I think The Star Tours was all Star Wars based theme park ride. Matter of fact, it even has C-3PO and R2-D2 in it. So I guess I don't understand it. Hold on just 1 second. WPGW. It starts at 6 o'clock. Yes. Thank you. The joys of working in small town radio. Redneck USA. Ignorant Redneck USA. But that's a whole nother story. But yeah, I think with Star Wars there is potential there. In terms of directors, I was thinking more along the lines that you would get somebody like Steven Spielberg to go on and direct it. But already he has checked himself off the list. There's already 3 people that were on people's wish list that have checked off. One of them was Steven Spielberg. Another one was Zack Snyder. And third one was Quentin Tarantino. Matter of fact, he's in this article, and he said, they quoted him as potentially directing. He said, I could care less, even if Disney does it. He said, I could care less. And Spielberg checked it off. Spielberg quickly checked off the list because he said, in quote, that this was George Lucas's movie. He said this was not my world, and it was George's creation. He said that his vision would not be real good if he went into that world. But supposedly he did direct pieces of Revenge of the Sith. So there we go. And yeah, Quentin Tarantino, I forget what the reason was for Zack Snyder. And quite frankly, I don't think Zack Snyder would be that great of a choice. Another one, what they're wanting on this list is J.J. Abrams. And if you're subscribed to AMC Movie News, watch the directors who should not direct Star Wars. And I agree with the person. I'm not going to say their name because I'm not plugging this person or the theater chain or anything like that. He said that Abrams should not be attached because basically Star Trek. You know what he did with Star Trek, and I agree with that because when you tamper, definitely. There's a lot of prejudices when you cross Star Trek with Star Wars. And you got to be careful because the Trekkies will come after you if you go for the Star Wars. Do anything with Star Wars with Star Trek. But it's kind of funny because for the movies, ILM has done most of the visual effects for the Star Trek movies. Go figure. And also, when J.J. Abrams came on to do Star Trek, he didn't really want to do Star Trek. As a matter of fact, he was not a big fan of Star Trek. And he said, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it as Star Wars style. And that meant scrapping everything in the Star Trek vernacular and completely retooling it. And it's curious to see what the sequel will be, Into Darkness. So I'm looking forward to Into Darkness of Star Trek. So that comes out this summer, I believe. I'm not sure what month, but it comes out this summer. So I am definitely looking forward to that. To be honest with you, with the sale of Lucasfilm to Disney, my biggest concern would not be the Star Wars franchise. I've moved on from that. I still enjoy the original trilogy. Kind of enjoy the prequels, even though I really enjoyed them at the time, but then I look back at it and go, what was I thinking? It's a little kiddie fair. Yeah, I didn't really care for the... As I look back on the prequels, it's like, this could have been a lot better. But my concern was the companies. ILM, Skywalker Sound. Those are my big concern, is what's going to happen with them. Is Disney going to keep ILM to themselves and not share it with other studios and other productions? That's what kind of bothers me about it, because I don't want... Basically, what my fear is, they're going to turn... Or I don't really call it a fear, but it's really a concern of... look, Sony Pictures has Sony Pictures Imageworks, which does the same exact thing. They're owned by Sony Pictures, but yet they have done work for other studios' projects. Like, for instance, they've done the I Am Legend series. Not series, but the I Am Legend film with Will Smith. They worked on that. They've worked on several Disney films themselves, including Alice in Wonderland and things like that. But my concern would be, is Disney willing to... Sorry, I'm bumping things. Would Disney be able to license the company out to other studios? Because there's in a huge... they've done a lot of stuff for Paramount, and they've done a lot of stuff for Fox and Warner Brothers, so I'm almost... I don't know if it would kill the relationship between Disney and Warner Brothers, even though there was kind of friction there to begin with, competition. But yeah, that's my main concern. What would happen to the divisions of the company, like Lucasfilm, with Lucasfilm, Skywalker Sound, and ILM? Those are my big concern. I didn't really have any concerns over Star Wars because, hey, it's a chance of improvement. So, and already they're on the right track. They've just hired a screenwriter to direct. Not to direct, but they hired a screenwriter to write, and he was working. He's currently writing the Hunger Games sequel. He worked on Toy Story 3 and Little Miss Sunshine. So there is some potential for improvement there. The director, who's going to direct? I guess that's the big question with Star Wars. But that's my big thing here. I think I'm going to sign off here. I definitely did want to come on and talk about the purchase of Lucasfilm to Disney and what's going to happen. So, from me to you, see you later.